Hello and welcome to another episode of David Rides a Trike. I'm David, I'm riding a trike. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I try to provide a little motivation to people with chronic illnesses and disabilities to find some fun form of outdoor exercise. Doing so can often prove to be therapeutic, and why not do something that also is a lot of fun? Personally, I fall into both the chronically ill and disabled categories. I was diagnosed as a type 1. The reason I keep looking on the ground, I've seen a couple of snakes. I don't want to run any of them over. I was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic when I was a year and a half old. I've had 3 organ transplants, including a pancreas transplant when I was 41, which cured me of being a diabetic. I am legally blind. I've had stage 3 cancer. I've had a long list of things that I will not get into right now. So today I thought I would talk about some of my favorite and most interesting things about riding a recumbent trike. First thing that comes to mind is always the comfort factor. These trikes are uniquely comfortable. I get stopped quite often by other cyclists and pedestrians, and the first question is very often, is that thing comfortable? And my standard answer is, it's like riding a lazy boy. And it really is so comfortable. And each brand and each model within each brand has its own comfort level, or rather I should say has its own feel. When I was trike shopping for this trike, which by the way is an Ice Sprint 26, but when I was initially shopping, I test rode a bunch of trikes. And I liked several of them, but then I sat down in this, and before I even took a single pedal stroke, I knew this was the one. It just fit me perfectly. Fortunately, when I took it for a ride, the handling and the feel of it as far as riding goes were great. I really enjoyed everything about it. But for anyone who's considering a recumbent trike or is going to be buying one, I strongly suggest test riding a bunch of different brands and models within each brand. And another thing about the comfort factor, compared to a diamond frame bike, there really is no comparison. I know a lot of people who ride diamond frames and say they're perfectly comfortable riding on it. But look at it this way. If you were going to be sitting down to watch a movie or relax or do something other than riding, would you rather be sitting like this on a comfortable cushioned web seat, or would you prefer sitting on a traditional bike seat? There really is no comparison. And I know some of my diamond friend riders might take offense to this, but as far as comfort goes, there's no comparison. The second thing is stability. You're on 3 wheels, it's extremely stable. I've said before, you have to work really hard to either do a header on one of these or flip it over to the side. it almost never happens. It can, and it does, but it's very, very rare. And because it's so stable, there's no balancing involved whatsoever. And I honestly feel that this frees up some portion of your brain, and it makes your head just a little more free to enjoy what's around you, take everything in, and appreciate it with a greater sense of acceptance. The third thing about riding a recumbent trike is perspective. You know, when we walk around, or if you're riding a diamond frame bike, you're anywhere from 5 to 6 or more feet off the ground. At least your point of view is. You switch down to 2.5 or 3 feet, and it's a radical difference. Things that you've seen 100, 1,000 times before look so much different from down here. And just to give you kind of an analogy, consider this. I'm extremely colorblind. Grass to me looks like it's bright orange. Leaves on the trees look like they're brown or orange. I have a whole list of the colors that I see. And people hear about that, you know, when I tell them, and they go, wow, that sounds really interesting. I'd like to see what things would look like that. And that's really just a matter of a different perspective. It's the same thing when you go from moving forward 5 to 6.5, possibly more feet off the ground, down to where I am now. It's a whole different ball game. And again, it opens up a whole new avenue of appreciation for what's around you, and you could take in a lot more that way. The next thing that comes to mind is slow speed. Trikes, I've said before, are inherently slower than diamond frame bikes. 3 wheels, more rolling resistance, and they weigh a lot more than most diamond frame bikes, especially more than road bikes. There are trikes that are built for speed, but even on those, you could go as slow as you want. And again, going slowly gives you a whole new perspective. It allows you to take in so much more around you. Notice things that you may not notice when you're going by at 15 miles an hour on a regular bike. And again, to kind of demonstrate this, look at the difference in what you notice and what you see when you're riding a diamond frame bike as compared to driving the same route in a car. Not only visually, but your sense of smell and hearing are also affected much, much more in a good way. And on a trike, you could slow it down even more. You could go down to a mile an hour or come to a stop, and you don't have to be a master of the track stand or balancing your bike while you're on it. And going slow has its benefits at times. Rather than zipping by something, you really get to take it in, see it, and enjoy it. Okay, hang on. I am going to pause this momentarily while I cross this intersection, and then we'll pick it up from there. And finally, the last thing I wanted to mention, and I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it's definitely something that happens to recumbent trike riders, and that is these things get a lot of attention from other people. I get stopped quite frequently by other cyclists, people. Sometimes they'll literally ask if I could stop so they could ask questions. And other than, is it comfortable, which is probably the most common question, I get asked if I built this myself, how do you steer it, and how is it going uphill? All valid questions. Not sure about the did you build it yourself, but I guess there are some people that could do that. I definitely am not among them. I also find little kids really are enthralled with these. Practically every kid I pass, I'll hear Mom or Dad, did you see that bike? Or, whoa, mister, that's a cool bike. And I've got to admit, that's kind of fun hearing those comments from kids. Guess anybody thinking anything that I'm doing or possess is cool is an ego boost. But, for most of you watching this video right now, I don't know if it's most of you actually, but I'm assuming a lot of you are recumbent trike riders, so there's nothing unique about it. But in the real world, probably the majority of people have no idea what these things are. And it garners a lot of attention when you're out there riding. So it's just something that, you should be prepared for. And at times I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to people about the trike. Other times it can be a pain in the butt, but goes with the territory. So that's about it for this episode. Just some of the things that I enjoy about riding a recumbent trike, or some of the things that I notice about riding one. There are a lot more, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking of these things right now as you're watching, but I like to keep these videos fairly short, so I'm going to cut it off. Maybe I'll do a part 2 on trike observations. In the meantime, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, really helps me out if you subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up down below. I also love to hear from you. Have a lot of nice discussions with fellow trikers and people looking to get into the triking world. So leave your comments down below. I promise I will get back to you. That's it, and I will see you on the next ride. Bye-bye. And what's the third thing? Did I build it myself? How do you steer it? And oh yeah, and how is it going uphill?